I'm pretty sure this is the craziest finish you're ever gonna find on a razor pocket mod. What's up guys, welcome back to Pat Outdoors. Today we're gonna be working on something very different. I'm actually very excited to explore this since I'm not very familiar with it. Razor pocket mod. So much like my Sur-Ron, I also recently picked this up on Craigslist in poor condition, not running. So you can see there's plenty of rust on the wheels, front and rear. It's got a couple tears on the seat. And overall, the bike is a little banged up. There's deep scratches all over the plastics. And this thing doesn't even run. I bought it without a charger. The previous owner doesn't even have a charger. But none of that stuff really matters since we are gonna be stripping this down to bare frame. And we're gonna be doing a full custom build. I'm not even gonna bother with the whole overvolting the factory motor. I think the power level is pretty boring. We're just gonna jump straight into jamming as much motor as we can to fit in this frame. Also gonna be getting the whole body and frame refinished. So this thing's gonna look really fresh. And I'm also gonna be deleting this drum brake setup and switching it over to a disc brake since I don't really trust these drum brakes on these razors. So I'm actually doing this build for my coworker's daughter. As some of you guys may know, if you're familiar with these razors, these things don't really go past, I think 10, 12 miles an hour for this model, but their request was for this thing to go at least 30, 35 miles an hour. So that is what we're shooting for. Man, somebody did a really hack job on an attempt to put a taillight on this thing. They used speaker wire and it connected directly to the battery. That's pretty dangerous. So this thing's only running on a 24 volt setup, very similar to the E300 scooters that we worked on in the past. What we're gonna be doing is actually switching this out to at least a 48 or 52 volt system. And I'm likely gonna be using a lithium battery so we can squeeze a lot more power out of this. That was a lot of bolts and screws to take the plastics off. The drivetrain doesn't actually seem to be in bad shape, but we're still going to be swapping this out. Definitely not going to be running these pink plastic covers though. These two bolts at the bottom are actually for the tensioner. Yeah, they're 15s. That does not spin freely at all. Check that out. We gotta fix that before we put this back on the road so this doesn't limit the speed. All right, so just like the front, it's held on by 15s. And just like that, it is bare frame. Now from my previous projects, I've always refinished my own frames, but I'm actually gonna hand this one over to a professional. Since my coworker that asked me to build this for him happens to be a painter, I'm gonna let him prep this frame and fork and refinish it, along with all the plastics. I'm gonna go with a custom BMW color, so I hope you guys like how it turns out. So I'm actually going to be cutting these tabs off since we're no longer going to need them. I'm not going to put that chain guard back on. I think it looks silly, so that the frame can be refinished so there's no bare metal exposed later on. I think it'll just clean things up a little bit. That. God damn, this guy's taking this refurb really seriously. Looks like he got all the plastics primed, but not sanded down just yet. Still prepping it for the base coat for tomorrow. But it filled in a lot of the deep scratches. Obviously this is going to be sanded down before he lays down the base coat. But we're probably going to keep the factory BMW color, M240i purple, just to keep the purple and pink theme going. Look at that. It's definitely looking a lot fresher than it did earlier. Well, hopefully this can cure within the next 24 hours so we can continue with the project. Well, since Chris is doing such a great job with refinishing the frame and the fairings, I'm gonna have him refinish the wheels as well, because this is in really terrible shape. But I'm gonna help him with the prep work a little bit. So I've never actually taken off a drum brake assembly on one of these before. I'm just gonna experiment with a way that I think is gonna work. I've never seen anybody actually do this. I cannot believe that worked. I'm gonna be doing a disc brake conversion on this bike. I'm just going to be using these adapters that came with the Zoom brake rotors that I'm using on my MX650. It actually matches the threads on these hubs, which I believe is the same thing as the MX350 as well. You should be able to do this if you want to do a conversion. If you are interested in checking out any of the parts that I'm using for this project, I'll have everything linked in the description below. Yeah, I really don't like how rough that feels. But the back one feels nice and free, so we're gonna leave that one alone. I'm just gonna clean this wheel up. But let's go take apart this front axle and see what's going on here. Looks like there's just plenty of dirt where the ball bearings are. So I'm gonna clean these out and mask them off, and I'm gonna bag all the bearings. We're gonna grease this up once we're reassembling the wheel after it's been refinished. I completely forgot that I have these wire brush attachments. So I'm gonna try these out on my impact driver and see if I can get into these tighter crevices between the spokes. So I've pretty much got these wheels prepped as much as I'm capable of. Obviously there's still a little bit of rust in between the spokes. It's a little hard to reach, even with the steel brush attachment on the drill. But overall, it's gotten a lot cleaner, closer to being ready for paint. So I'm just gonna let Chris take over from here since he's the professional. I'll let him clean this up a little bit more, prime them, and refinish them. Yeah, because it was looking a little rough with a bare primer on it before.
It was bad. But that's what happens. Put 3 coats on it and it level out.
Right. It's looking good. Ready to put the base coat down. God damn, look at that. It's a factory 2024 BMW M2 color. So far, this Razor Pocket Mod project is coming along really nicely, but we are still waiting on the lithium battery pack and the MY1020 motor adapter to come in so we can put this thing back together in one go. So make sure you stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you like this kind of content, want to keep up with some of my projects, such as my Talaria, my Sur-Ron, and this Razor SX500 that I'm about to hop onto right now, consider subscribing to this channel. But this is going to be it for today. Thank you for watching.